Genetic engineering of crops is critical to feed a rapidly growing world. With a growing population and agricultural production strained by climate change, farmers will have to grow about 70% more food by 2050. Now, modification of crops to increase yield is nothing new. Selective breeding has been used for thousands of years to select desired traits in food, and other technologies have been developed more recently to use recombinant DNA or randomly induced DNA mutations. However, to meet the world's needs, gene editing techniques like CRISPR-Cas9 must be used to select for desirable plant traits and produce crops more efficiently. Meanwhile, US federal policy for genetically engineered crops is a patchwork of various agencies, laws, and regulatory decisions that have failed to keep up with advances in science. GE plant regulatory policy is primarily created and administered by three federal agencies: the Environmental Protection Agency, the Food and Drug Administration, and the United States Department of Agriculture. Broadly, the regulatory responsibilities of each agency depends on the crop's specific use and method of production. The EPA is responsible for pesticide regulation, the FDA manages food safety, and the USDA oversees potential risks to agricultural plant health. This complex web of regulations and agencies means that it takes a lot of time and money to move a crop from lab to market, favoring established companies with large market shares. However, it can be difficult for new firms and researchers to enter this market, particularly those who are interested in specialty crops like grapes and almonds. Given the rapidly changing landscape of agricultural genetic engineering and the rise of small farmer stakeholders, we need new policies that can evolve with science while balancing the needs of developers and safety. So we propose two actions. First, the federal government should implement a clarifying web-based platform that GMO producers can use to submit product approval applications. Under existing regulation, the USDA is tasked with creating such a platform, but the current version is insufficient. Currently, the platform only provides basic descriptions of the regulatory roles of the USDA, FDA, and EPA. Instead, we propose it should also be an avenue to submit an application for commercial approval of a biotechnology product. This unified web platform should serve as a tool to help small and medium-sized producers begin the process of product approval.
Second, the USDA should create an office to consolidate communication with crop developers regarding the GE plant approval process and manage a clearinghouse for inquiries. The USDA Secure Rule mandates a publicly accessible database containing the results of all completed regulatory status reviews. However, this rule fails to simplify the regulatory process in a way that makes it accessible to small and to medium-sized innovators who have no previous experience with regulation, but otherwise have the technical expertise and capacity to safely contribute to agricultural innovation. Further, it fails to address the delays and confusion experienced by producers due to poor coordination between the three regulatory agencies. Therefore, federal agencies should coordinate their response to inquiries in addition to improvement of the unified web platform. To execute this, we propose that an office be created within the USDA to do three things. One, manage communication between the three agencies, developers, farmers, and other stakeholders. Two, determine which agency is most appropriate to regulate each innovation. And three, maintain the consolidated online platform. The US Congress should appropriate funding to this office. If implemented, our proposals will reduce regulatory burdens on companies and researchers seeking to bring new products to market without changing any safety or consumer protection standards. In particular, these steps will accommodate smaller firms and researchers by removing barriers of entry to the field, specifically large financial and time costs. We recognize that racial disparities in American agriculture have existed since its inception. The USDA has played a key role in restricting access to resources such as farm ownership loans to Black, Native American, Hispanic, and female farmers. As a result, it is long overdue that the USDA consider policies that can expand the umbrella of participants in the agriculture community. Implementation of our proposals will enable a more accessible regulatory landscape for minority farmers, researchers, and developers. If federal policy keeps pace with advances in genetic engineering by streamlining regulations, the US can look forward to a more diverse and resilient food supply in the future.